Welcome to our channel Scary Sagas, where we bring you the most amazing true horror stories. Let me start by noting that I don't use TikTok often. I mostly use it to watch a few of my friends who post there. Nevertheless, occasionally I'll find myself idly surfing to view some of the cool, cringe-inducing, or in this case, just horrible TikToks. A few weeks prior, I had just gotten home from work and was bored, so I decided to use my phone to browse the internet. After a bit of that, I grew tired of it and began to scan through my apps in an effort to find something to keep me busy. Since I hadn't been on the TikTok app in a while, I decided to take a look around. I didn't anticipate being shocked by anything on there. However, I did want to discover something amusing to give to some friends. I discovered several cosplayers and the normal lip-syncing crowd. I browsed through movies for almost 20 minutes before deciding to call it quits and use my time more wisely. My phone's home button was touched, but the app didn't close. I tried several times without luck, and my screen even began to occasionally flash on and off, click on items I wasn't clicking on, and bug out. I was starting to get annoyed at this point since my phone was spanking new. I had never experienced this problem before, and I didn't want to have to go through the bother of getting it mended or replaced. When I opted to reset the phone, the TikTok app was still running when it turned on. I sighed in frustration, and as soon as I did, the app stopped and my phone began to heat up. The app began skimming through videos of what I assumed would merely be the most well-liked ones as usual while I was perplexed. I didn't let out a scream of terror or feel my heart plummet into my stomach until I really paused to look at what was being swept through. Instead of the standard man in a snapback singing to the camera, there were these terrible films being shown. This was even more dreadful. There was no music playing, but I could see someone, I assume a guy because of the hairy knuckles, scraping through some dirt to expose the flesh. He was digging into someone's nose, eyeballs, and teeth before moving on to the next slide with another swipe of the phone. On the Explore page, it resembled an ordered series by the same individual. There were no views, comments, or clickable profiles. The following video then appeared. I could only see the man's hand as he pulled dirt off the face of the buried woman, revealing her ghostly white face that appeared to be decomposing. He cleaned off more grime slide after slide, revealing her to the camera. The only sounds heard in these recordings were his rapid-fire grunting and his labored breathing, which suggested a possible state of terror. On the following slide, he was inside a house in a different location, and the camera appeared to be supported by something. He was wearing soiled pants, suspenders, and a woman's blouse, and I could see him clearly now. He wore a strange bag with two eye openings on his head, and a belt was around his neck. I could only presume that the object he was bringing up the stairs from the basement was the lady he had been digging up earlier in the preceding slides. The subsequent image had a new camera perspective and showed the entire dirty living area, which I assumed belonged to him. There were flies everywhere, rats running over the floor, and I can only imagine the foul odor. I was trying to persuade myself that this whole situation was a joke. The fact that the woman he was carrying into the living room was so pale and discolored suggested that she wasn't actually dead. I couldn't help but feel sick to my stomach at the idea. On the following slide, a different perspective showed a large wooden crucifix leaning against the wall in place of the television. She was held to the dead body as he raised it. I'd had enough. I couldn't continue to see this. I had no idea why it was being shown, and I didn't want him around to see what he was going to do. I didn't understand why I couldn't exit the app or why the slides were changing by themselves, perhaps under the direction of someone else who had full access to my phone. My dad was downstairs, so I ran down there because I thought he would know what to do better than I would. My dad is a police officer. He seemed perplexed when I handed him my phone. The software has ended. In actuality, the software had erased itself from my phone and deleted itself as if it had never existed. My dad simply assumed I was crazy when I attempted to describe what I had seen since I was so bewildered and frightened. Said I needed to take sleep and quit overthinking since I was working too hard. All I could truly do, despite how helpless I felt, was return upstairs to my room with my new normal phone. My phone was in good shape when I returned upstairs. After then, it didn't glitch again, and nothing seemed out of the ordinary. But as I looked through my photo collection, I discovered something I wish I hadn't. It was a video that I couldn't place in my saved videos. I hesitated before clicking on it since the thumbnail was dark and I was curious to see what it was. I regret doing so. The dude from the TikTok vids was there, except for the bag over his head and the belt around his neck. He was naked in his living room. He was kneeling in front of the large wooden cross that had the woman's body fastened on it and was currently ablaze. He was repeatedly chanting, "Eat her up, devour her." I knew I should have gone down and shown my father right away since I was feeling unwell, but I was afraid it would just delete itself again. I erased the video entirely, something I now regret doing. I see now that I ought to have called the police or taken more action. However, I was too afraid. I've watched enough spooky movies to know that becoming involved in anything like that would put you in danger. So I decided I didn't want to be a part of it. All I wanted was for it to end and disappear off my phone. Since then, nothing new has occurred. Therefore, I won't be downloading that app. Not once again. They seem to like that these stories will leave you with more questions than answers. They are a reminder that sometimes the truth is much darker and more mysterious than we ever imagined. Join us next time on Scary Sagas for other spine-chilling true stories.